Human Relations Day, and also Human Trafficking Month. At this time, I would have acknowledged our president, Vera Glur, but she's out ill. And I must thank our pastor. When you have seen her do all these things this morning, Vera would have been doing that. So thank you so much, Reverend Amanda. This morning is a team effort, and it involves not only the United Methodist Women, but the mission team along with social justice. Now, first of all, I would like to have all the United Methodist Women who are present stand. Those who are active and inactive. Would you please stand this morning? All of them, active and inactive, please stand. And all over. In the United States. You represent, and Canada, you represent 8 million women. Thank you so much. Now, mission team people, are you here? Are you also helping us with our fellowship? So maybe you're downstairs. But anyway, this is a group effort, and we are very blessed, and thank you for all your input. In a report presented by Susie Johnson, United Methodist Women Executive Secretary for Public Policy, we find that the United Methodist Women have been active in identifying the global problem of human trafficking, which affects some 27 million people. And they've been doing this since 1998. They seeded a project that later helped the State Department monitor and report on trafficking in persons and build anti-trafficking legislation. Human trafficking preys on the helpless and those who do not have an outlet to speak out, many of which are women and children. Ms. Johnson goes on to say, by joining the global movement to end the complex web of sexual slavery, prostitution, and labor bondage, United Methodist Women continues to be at the forefront of the fight against the exploitation of the world's most helpless. Kay Delaney Moore, Education and Interpretation Chair with our Palm Springs UMW unit, will give you a brief bit of information on the latest UMW call to action.
I am a United Methodist woman. I am a United Methodist woman. And I'm only one of many. Our organization has been working on human trafficking for more than a decade, but has elected during this quadrennium to make it one of our few major foci. There are 5 staff people and 21 United Methodist women from around the country, including one from Southern California, who are on the committee. You're going to hear about human trafficking this morning, and I've been asked to tell you what United Methodist women are doing. I'm going to talk in general terms and then in specific terms about this annual conference. And Amanda asked if this was my 2-minute speech. I said yes. Part of our purpose is to expand concepts of global ministries around the world. And human trafficking is something that affects every country, everywhere. You may hear later about a test that's available online for you to take, and you don't have to share the answers. How many slaves, because it is a kind of slavery, it takes to support you in your lifestyle. Several of us took it yesterday, and it was very, very interesting and informative. There are three thrusts to what we're doing. The first one is education, because until we know what we're up against and what it's all about, we can't do anything. Being informed, definitions, statistics. We have a reading program in the organization, and there are a number of books that have been and are still on our reading list. One of those, which was so powerful to me I couldn't read very many pages at a time, was called Children at War, the trafficking conscription of children, boys and girls, particularly on the continent of Africa, but not limited to that, who are given a gun and taught to kill. We do Bible study. There is lots in the Old and New Testament. Jesus said, and if you do this unto the least of these, you do it unto me. Those who are imprisoned, and really trafficking is a kind of imprisonment. We have programs that can be delivered, films, stories, skits, handouts. Once we're informed, the next step is advocacy or policy action. What can we do at the local, state, and national level to combat what is happening in our communities? I double dare you tomorrow, whatever community you live in this valley, to call either City Hall or the police department serving that community and ask, what is the city doing about human trafficking here? And I'll tell you, if each of you did that, there would be some eyes and ears opened to a beginning of combating it here in this valley. You have to learn the signs and then act on them. In this annual conference, David and Margaret Home in Laverne is a national mission project, and they are now taking girls into that home, giving them counseling, providing them with bare necessities. Girls who have just escaped trafficking, whether it be sexual, domestic, whatever it may be. And that's a project that's not very far from here. When they leave that home, they get to take everything they've been given with them. In San Diego, there is an organization that collects comfortable clothing, like sweats, and toiletries for women who are put into jail after they've first been free, which often happens. The last thing that we do nationally is develop partnerships. And I'm just going to read a list. You may never have heard of any of these. I haven't read about all of them, but it's kind of interesting. Of course, we work through UMCOR, the United Methodist Church on Relief, which has homes in other countries that when they rescue somebody from the traffic situation, they can go to and help to repair the damage that has been done to them, not only mentally and physically, but spiritually. There is a group called Stand Against Traffic, IPATH Victims and Human Rights, ICTSOS, and I had to look that one up. It's Ending Human Trafficking in Wichita, which is where my sister-in-law is. She'll be here next month. I'm going to ask her if she's ever heard of it. DNA Foundation, Love 146, Polaris Project, Not for Sale, Free the Slaves, Share the Hope, GEMS, Alternate Gifts International, Trade in Hope. Just a few of the things that we're doing, and one thing that we're going to be doing across the country is getting ready for the Super Bowl next month. And what we're doing is having photos taken of United Methodist women near traffic signs that indicate the road, like here would be Highway 10, that leads to the Super Bowl. And I'm sorry, I can't tell you where it is. Who knows? New Orleans, okay. Another thing that we do is, and those will be posted nationally and in our conference on websites, and those photos will also be taken to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl brings a lot of traffickers, hotel workers, food service people, the people who work at the arena where the game is to be played, sometimes even entertainment, sexual workers. And so they're trying to intervene to stop the traffickers and build awareness. The other thing we do is buy fair trade products, not free trade, fair trade. Coffee, tea, they make some yummy candies, where we know the farmers who grow those crops in other countries do not indulge in human trafficking.
Thank you, Kay. As we focus on what we can do nationally and internationally, there is much to be aware of locally. We are very excited to welcome Opal Singleton this morning. Opal is Director of Development and Board Member of Rafa House International and MillionKids.org, two organizations that exist to combat human trafficking wherever it is found. Opal is coordinator for the Riverside County Sheriff Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, and she will come to us after our scripture.
Why, O Lord, do you stand afar off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? In arrogance, the wicked persecute the poor. Let them be caught in the schemes they have devised. For the wicked boast of the desires of their heart. Those greedy for gain curse and renounce the Lord. In the pride of their countenance, the wicked say, God will not seek it out. All their thoughts are, there is no God. Their ways prosper at all times. Your judgments are on high, out of their sight. As for their foes, they scoff at them. They think in their heart, we shall not be moved. Throughout all generations, we shall not meet adversity. Their mouths are filled with cursing and deceit and oppression. Under their tongues are mischief and iniquity. They sit in ambush in the villages, in hiding places they murder the innocent. Their eyes stealthily watch for the helpless. They lurk in secret like a lion in its covert. They lurk that they may seize the poor. They seize the poor and drag them off in their net. They stoop, they crouch, and the helpless fall by their might. They think in their heart, God has forgotten. He has hidden his face. He will never see it. Rise up, O Lord. God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the oppressed. Why do the wicked renounce God and say in their hearts, you will not call us to account? But you do see. Indeed, you know trouble and grief, that you may take it into your hands. The helpless commit themselves to you. You have been the helper of the orphan. Break the arm of the wicked and evildoers. Seek out their wickedness until you find none. The Lord is king forever and ever. The nations shall perish from this land. O Lord, you will hear the desire of the meek. You will strengthen their heart. You will incline your ear. Do justice for the orphan and the oppressed, so that those from earth may strike terror no more. Thus ends the reading of the word.
Hello. Well, they wanted me to tell you a little bit about how I got involved in this. First of all, can you believe that we are sitting in Palm Springs talking about human trafficking in Palm Springs? I never can quite get over that, even though I myself work in it. My background is that I was in international marketing most of my career. I have almost 3 million frequent flyer miles, been to many, many countries around the world, saw third world countries with poverty and human trafficking. I started going to a church in Riverside called Pathway Christian on Victoria, and I came out of retirement as I began to understand our mission over there. What has happened is their mission is in Cambodia, Myanmar, and also Thailand with human trafficking. And so I'm an artist sometimes, I started selling my art, saving my money. It's a 100% volunteer organization, it's had to raise the funds. And I took myself to Cambodia, and I was just taken aback about human trafficking over there. And this
this last year, I actually spent 3 months over there as their acting country director. I'm heavily involved in creating businesses for the girls when they graduate from our program. We operate one of the largest safe houses in Cambodia, and you kind of expect human trafficking to happen in Cambodia. But about 3 years ago, my pastor and I were talking, and we have an organization called Me and Kids. That first organization I talked about is Rapha House. I have some photos with me if you want to look at it. And I'm on the board of Rapha House. It is about the largest in Cambodia. But we have this small organization called Me and Kids, and my boss and I would talk about, I think there's human trafficking here in the U.S., but I don't want to get involved in it. It's political, it has to do with law enforcement, and quite frankly, I'm not sure it's true. And I'm an activist, but I'm a realist. I have to know the numbers are right. I have to see the cases. I have to understand that this is in fact real. I just cannot handle, embellishing something I need to know for sure. And I avoided it like the plague. And then one night, the darndest thing happened to me. I saw an article in the Press Enterprise about this big, about a trafficking program at the NAACP on Boardwell Park that night. And my husband and I, by the way, my husband's here, I have a wonderful husband, wave your hand back there. Anyway, the man is extremely supportive and puts in hours with me. Anyway, he had taken me to a wonderful dinner at Chow Bella, and on the way home, it just overcame me. I needed to go to the NAACP meeting at Boardwell Park. And I mentioned that to my husband, and he said, "Do you have a boyfriend? Because this isn't normal, And I just knew I had to go. He went home, and I don't normally hang out at Boardwell Park at night, by the way. But there were about 12 people there, and one of them was the undercover sheriff. And he and I just hit it right off, and I started talking about labor trafficking because I do a massive amount of research. I want to know the facts. And he and I, almost immediately, he asked me if I would come on board and be their spokesperson. Riverside County has an amazing task force for human trafficking. It's not real well known. It's getting better known as I go out and speak. But basically, we have received funds from California Emergency Management a couple, 3 years ago, them and a group out here in the desert called Operation Safe House. They're just probably the best safe house in the business, and they're right here in your community. Anyway, they received government funding to set up a task force. If you know how poor California is right now, you know it's a serious matter. And so after they received their funds, then they asked me if I would be their spokesperson because everybody's undercover, but they had no money. And I said I would, and that started a change in my life. I do this like 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Obviously it's Sunday, I'm here, but I'm here because I want to be. I am amazed at the human trafficking in Southern California. California is the #1 state in the nation for human trafficking. Our area is really in a serious place. For the first time in history, the United States of America is listed on the State Department list of countries involved in trafficking. We have many kinds of trafficking here. Over the last couple of years, I've trained almost 1,300 government officials, including the Department of Labor and EDD and Alcoholic Beverage Control, Code Enforcement. We have a fabulous Code Enforcement department that looks for traffickers. I trained all the Code Enforcement agents in California. One of them came back out here to Cathedral City, and within less than 24 hours had 27 Chinese guys being held out here just from that immediate training. So I work heavily in labor trafficking, but what I'm going to speak about between the services has to do with child sex trafficking because that is the big issue here in your area. And it just really boggles the mind. We have had 16 girls that we have rescued in 15 weeks, I think the number is, from Riverside area or found in Riverside area. Now that's the ones that we have found and rescued. I know of pending cases. By the way, I work and I am employed with the Sheriff Department. I have a desk with the undercovers. I see the cases, I participate in it, I know what is real, and we're about to bust some more cases. The cases, if you saw the articles in San Bernardino with the DA and the release of their documentary, much of that is about our cases. and our peoples appear in it, you only see the backside of them because they're going in with the guns to get the people and they're undercover. But this is a very real matter. And so what I have done, I go into schools and train school officials. I train students. I go into churches. I put on larger scale training programs to teach you what to look for. It takes about a good 3 to 4 hours to really get it all in. And that program is called the Love Trap. It's a program to teach others how to go out and talk about this, and to go into schools and to go into churches and rotaries and like that. I've also written a program having to do with specific programs for churches, because I believe you're the answer. I believe you can say this is really a serious problem and something must be done. Or you can say this is a serious problem, what can I do? And I've written programs for church members, for men's groups, for youth groups, for women's groups. And I'll be talking about that between the services of not only just the problem, but what you can do as a church organization to address that. Thank you.
God has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Give justice to the weak and orphan. Maintain the right of the lowly and the destitute. Rescue the weak and needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk around in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I say, you are God's, children of the might of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, you shall die like mortals and fall like any prince. Rise up, O God, judge the earth, for all the nations belong to you.